It's Truth in the Trenches time with our guy Tim Springer, the trainer for Spartan training, and man, he's got a dope message for today. Uh, Tim, I'm so ready to listen, man. We're just gonna go ahead and get started.
No, I appreciate you having me on. It's always enjoyable to do so, and I'm kind of glad I'm getting a chance to kind of expand this. I think it was about a couple weeks ago. It was like right after the first window of the open period. Um, I just had an epiphany that I felt was needed to be shared, not just for myself and my circumstance and experiences, but also for other parents and players. And it was me thinking a lot about the players I trained, but even more so was hitting home because now my son is in this stage of where, hey, let's really get out there. There's a chance college coaches are watching, and then will they call? Will they watch? Will they be interested? There's just a lot that goes on to that, right? And even leading up to that, and I started thinking about how much us parents and even the players, whatever, our job as parents is to contribute to the cause. There's no question. The more involved a contributing parent is, the better chance a kid has at success. And that goes for anything. That's not just a basketball thing, but let's talk specific to basketball. But what tends to happen is either our desire for that kid, or sometimes the parents living their dreams through the kid, or they see everything on social media and start comparing. They feel this false sense of urgency, and what it does is it creates almost too much of a controlling environment where many different things can happen. Like the parents' negativity can bleed out into the kid, and now the kid adapts that, whether it's towards the team, the coach, or another kid who's having success more than they are, different things like that. Or you hard drive the kid into burnout or to not liking it. There's a million things that can come off the side effects of it. But I just saw that, and it was funny because, like for instance, when every open period Tim has gone into, whether it's been these last two, TABC, the one in the spring, I just tell him, like, you can't control what a coach does for you. Like whether a coach shows up, whether they like you, can't control it. So I said the one thing you can control is the one thing you're good at. Go affect winning. Go find ways to affect winning. And we just leave it at that. Like there's nothing else to control. Is control your character, habits, and things like that. But other than that, we're going to play as if the only thing you can do is affect winning and see what happens. And he did a phenomenal job of that. And yeah, the numbers were really good. His percentages were great. His numbers were up. He affected winning. And yeah, he did get attention. He got some phone calls after the one period. He's got some relationships being built now. But when I looked at it, I had to think further back. You know what I mean? And started looking at all the other things that I wanted to control that I could not control. When he went through puberty, when he would mature through this,
yeah,
when the varsity coach was going to deem him varsity ready, especially for a kid like him who has a very high skill set. You know what I mean? You could say he had his varsity skill set before he was varsity ready, and just different things like that. He was on a secondary team with Future for a while. At first, I wanted to control that until I figured out, okay, there is a little bit of God's timing in here. He does need to go figure this out before he's given an opportunity like that. Or, there's a million things I could give you in that case, but I just think for all of us, it's really important to understand that you do need to have contribution. You do need to have a plan. You do need to kind of get the right people around you so you have understanding of what your next steps will be if this happens. But at the end of the day, you have no control over this in the grand scheme of things. It is fully God's plan. And the more I've been able to let go of that as a parent, the relationship between me and him have been way better. And he listens more and things like that. And, it's unique, our relationship, because of what I do as a trainer. Like, he's been around all the pros I've trained. He's been around all the college kids that I've helped get to that space. He's been with me around the world as I did different things at different pro levels. So for me, it's really easy to go, no, I can control this because I do know what's going to happen next. And I've helped 100 kids do this. Even still, God's timing. Still, God's timing. And so I just think it was a great message that I had to get out, and I wanted to give that context and just, I guess, some things that I'd hope parents and players too. Like I know I was talking to the parents in the initial video, but players, you got to see this too. Like, okay, so number one, like it a little more on the men's side, but on the girls' side too, like puberty matters. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to grow when you grow, if you grow, and you may not grow. Like, it's a reality too. And then,
Yeah.
when does the body start to fill out? When does your adult athleticism and strength start to kick in, right? Or
Hmm.
you're working your tail off. And everybody swears, oh, because I'm with this trainer. And it happens with me. I have to explain to parents and players all the time. Look, just because I train I've trained a Jordan Clarkson and I've trained a CJ Miles and this and that, does not mean like you start training with me and this week all of a sudden you're a rock star. That's not how this works. And
Hmm.
it's going to click differently for some kids, and some faster, some slower. But if you just stay that course, it's going to happen at whatever point that comes.
Well,
Um,
I think I just want to interject right
yeah,
here,
go ahead.
right quick, man, because you talked about Tim having a varsity skill set, but not varsity, right? Uh, he spent some time on futures developmental areas, right? So one thing I always try to lean back on is I might be physically ready, skill set ready, but am I mature enough
Mm-hmm.
for the situation? Because man, training been in gyms for 12 years. Until somebody asked me something about doing it, did I ever find it? Well, I do have the maturity for this piece, but how fast can a network grow?
Yeah.
Well, there's still a maturity piece of that. And I really like what you told Tim about you can't control what coaches like, don't like, what they're thinking about, right? Because what players fail to realize right now is coaches are looking for puzzle pieces. They've already got their cores worked out. They need puzzle pieces to add. Um, and that's what I mean. That's the message I want to get out today. Um, and if people go back to the episode list on the truth in the trenches and listen to the new rule that went into effect July 1st and how it affects specialists, they're trying to complete a roster of puzzle pieces. But I know you have more, man. I was just those two things hit me. One when you were talking, but when I put that pod together, man, it was like, wow, this is going to give a lot more opportunities for those skill guys and developmental pieces, and we'll just see how it turns out.
Yeah.
But
Until D2 gives 5 years of eligibility.
yeah, dude. I mean, like
Hey,
if you,
but not to cut you off. That's like, I think sometimes to that, like, God, what if my son was 5 years older and we never had to go through this? And
mhm,
again, it's uncontrollable. Like whatever else happens with the NCAA or NAIA or JUCO or anything else, by the time he graduates high school, like that's God's timing. I can't control the
yeah,
NCAA. I can't control how D1s and D2s respond to the new rule. I was just talking to a D2 yesterday, and we were talking about, he was saying, like, yeah, things are going to change for high schoolers again, as far as the ones that are D2 ready, because we get to keep a kid for a fifth year now. The chances of us going and giving money to a high school kid again, it starts to slim. Can you
yeah,
control that as a parent or player? No, but you can control how valuable are you, or how D2 already if you're a D2 kid, or the D1
hmm,
situation as well. Like it's crazy right now. The times are crazy. There's no question about that.
yeah,
But where does all this craziness impact your desire, your drive, your plan, your focus? Like, because those are the things that you can control.
yeah. Facts, facts. But I know I cut you off, man. I didn't know if you were going to another thought or ready to wrap up or.
Well, no, I just think you know, kind of like what I said in the initial video, like keep
Mhm,
doing your homework, you
yeah.
know. And I think I mentioned this in our last podcast, is that even with someone who's been in this field, has helped 100+ kids get into college, is still doing it every single day. I think I'm shipping out 7 to 8 players that are all going to college this year, this fall. I have to learn every single day. That
Hmm.
conversation I had with that D2 coach yesterday was new information to me. And I'm in
Hmm.
this field. So for a doctor or lawyer, an engineer, a manager, an entrepreneur of a different industry, like do your homework, do your research, find guys like you who are putting information out, or credible blog posts that you can read and understand. If you get the blessings of talking to a college coach, I know I got a little bit of advantage there too, because I
Hmm.
do got some of these guys on speed dial. I can pick up the phone and call them anytime. But college coaches are very receptive into answering questions and giving back feedback and intel. We were at Our Lady of the Lake a couple weeks ago. And he did a great Q&A with the parents. The head coach did after the camp. He worked out the kids, and then you got to
Hmm.
get the insight. You got to get all that insight you can get. You got to put people around, whether it's club or trainers like that have done this, because that experience helps. And then keep working with your kid on the work ethic. The one thing I do
Hmm.
want to hit last, and then we can move to a different topic, is this too, is I hear this all the time on social media, and it just bugs the hell out of me. And I want to comment, but I just know it's going to kind of feel cesspool, so I don't. But
Yeah.
like they say, oh man, well, I can't get my kid to work on this and work on that and work on this. And then the other parents like, yeah, well, if your kid doesn't do it by themselves, they don't want it. And I'm like, and I'm listening to all this, and there's only half truths in all that. And I
Hmm.
think this is another, again, a God's timing thing as your kid matures. Because I'll say this: just because your kid wants this doesn't mean they're going to go out, lift weights, do a skills training workout, and this and this and this every single day with nobody asking. And look, I've asked parents of P5 kids, their kid is playing at a P5 now. And I said, was so and so always just like locked in? They said no. They said, honestly, the maturity and the individual side of it didn't really fully come on until they were a junior. And
Yes.
I said, okay, all right. Because, look, I'll be transparent. I was a little worried in certain parts of the years. I was like, okay, he's a freshman now. And this dude's been around this his whole life. Like, he's known nothing else but this, right? He used to sit on the baseline on a basketball at 6 years old and watch George Hill work out with me, watch CJ Miles work out with me, Danny Green. He's seen this. He's been around my teams where I put all these kids in college. And I was like, well, how come it's not, again, me trying to control this? It
Yeah.
was just him having to grow into it. Now, the thing, so was there times he would go lift on his own? Yes. Was it every single day? No. Was there times he would go work on his game on his own? Yes. Was it all the time? No. Did he want to go to every workout that I put him in? No. But at the same time, we were probably winning that categories 80%
Hmm.
of the time. Next year it turned up to be 85% of the time.
Yeah.
Now, coincidentally, what that parent told me of her P5 kid, he's walking into the junior year. Nobody has to tell him to go get in the weight. We got weights in the garage, but like nobody has to tell him to go do that. Nobody has to. He doesn't complain when he's got a skill workout. He has
Hmm.
all this going, but it's taking the time and maturity. And also, I think for kids, like we assume that they're going to have this 40-year plan and this vision just because they say, I want to play college basketball. I want to be a pro. They don't really know what that means.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Or just even be a varsity basketball player. Let's dumb that down to the bigger
Yeah.
population. They don't know what that means. And if you think about anything else in life, even if we were farmers again and we were teaching our kids how to operate on the farm and manage the farm, there's a work ethic that has to be taught and modeled first. And
True.
then the kids start to copy. And of course, they might not get all of it at 10. They might not get all of it at 15. Maybe it starts to make sense at 17. But that's one of the God's timing things that I think that we really need to look at. And also look at as parents ourselves. Like, okay, you're telling this kid to go bust his ass and do all this and this, but you're lazy. You sit on your butt 24/7 when you're not at work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you got to think, oh, I bust my butt. I wake up every morning and go to work. Yeah, because your family depends on it.
Yes.
Very few, I mean, there are people who are working their dream and wake up like, oh man, I get to work my dream and work my business, whatever that is, that's cool. But a lot of
Hmm.
us don't. But we expect our kids, our 14-year-old kid, to understand what a grown man or a grown woman's work ethic is. I mean, you got to have some patience with that. And I can say that, because that was the hardest thing for me. It wasn't like, oh, how fast is he going to grow? Oh, when's puberty going to hit? I mean, I thought about those things, but the thing that bothered me was,
Yeah.
when's he going to adopt the work ethic himself? And like, I had to realize, okay, just keep modeling it. Just keep showing him why. Keep showing him the benefits behind it. And now he's done it long enough that, like what he did in July, and he did a great job at TABC, in my opinion, it's showing up because he's figuring this out and it's coming at the right time. He didn't need to be a rock star last summer. He did a pretty good July, had a pretty good July last summer too, but like it didn't even matter. Like just keep getting to the space. So when it does matter, all those things are in place and then you don't have to worry about it. And I say that
Hmm.
now because like, look at even this side of it. Okay, now coaches are calling. Now he's getting some attention. He's getting some write-ups that are very favorable to, from organizations that are respectable. And I'm so glad he's got a circle around him that tell him, "Hey, good job, man. I'm proud of you." And people outside of me, but they also go, "Keep working. You're not done."
Yeah.
And that's why I say surround yourself around the right people for when before good happens and after good happens, and then just keep doing the same things. Model it. I try to lift every morning when I wake up. Why? So he knows. Dad got up at 6 a.m. and lifted. He didn't have to. He could have. He was going to the gym anyway. He went in the garage and lifted himself. Or
Yeah.
he's telling me to eat nutritiously. Okay, well, I look at him and he's eating a salad. Now that one I'm still working on, but Dad's preaching at me about get enough sleep to be able to operate the next day. Okay, but dad's doing the same thing too. Because again, what do kids do? They do as we do, not as we say.
Yeah.
And so, when we're impatient, we're not even leading ourselves, right? I think it was
Hmm.
Navy SEAL listening to the podcast, and I think this hits it. He said, lead yourself, lead others, lead always.
Mm.
And we're waiting for the kids to jump in front and lead.
Not,
Kids,
yeah.
kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm ranting, but I just love this topic, and it's also awesome. The first video I made actually sparked some conversations with some parents that I have a high amount of respect for, who have high achieving kids, and they've said how much it really made sense. So I hope this rant does help somebody, but like, just stay consistent, just stay in the right circle, and just trust. Keep teaching your kid what work ethic looks like. Keep teaching your kid to open their mind to what, okay, well, if I do play college basketball, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Like, yeah, like I had this conversation with Tim one time. Like, you're not just going to college, playing college basketball just to go play basketball. Like, you're
Yeah. Yeah.
getting a degree. And this was years ago, like way more further down on the maturity scale. But like, open the vision, take them around college games, take them to college practices, like, so they can see this. One of the things I think that's helped Tim a lot is like, I take him somewhere, I go, can you see yourself playing this level? In most cases, he says, yeah, I think so. Okay, well, what do you think it takes? And now I'm starting to open their mind to understand, his mind to understand, okay, maybe I got to do a little more here. Maybe I should add this. Man, these guys are pretty damn strong. I'm thinking I'm gonna go in the garage and get in the weight room this week. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to let them find and discover it. And when you control everything, they don't think for themselves. That's part
Yeah.
of the problem with basketball players even now. There's too much training of this is what you do, this is what you do, with due to the lack of unorganized basketball at the park, like we talk about. Like, they don't think for themselves. Well, you need them to think for themselves as far as what they want their career to be outside, when they're not on the court as well. And that happens through letting things evolve and showing them and letting them discover. And I think,
It's interesting, man, because I just saw a short clip last few days of Steven Jackson talking about what he was going to do with his kids, or maybe it was the other guy on the All the Smoke podcast. But they
oh
were
yeah,
talking about how they let their young ones go play, just play against their friends, against whatever, because it was actually teaching decision making processes that transfer over to life.
yeah,
It shows, well, I tried it this way, it didn't work, so now I'm gonna do this way, and all those missing pieces. And I'm gonna shout out what you were saying about the sleep, because I just read an article, was like a sleep study, and I'm not only into studies and science, but what the outcome was. Stanford did a sleep study with their team.
mm-hmm.
They moved from 8 hours sleep to 10, and their shooting percentages skyrocketed. Big jump and so I was like, wow, man. I mean, sleep, and we fight ourselves, me and you, to get the right amount of sleep, and our kids, like you say, the maturity, the discipline to get up, or go down, really to go down when they need to.
Yeah.
Uh, that's another process, man. Another process. I guess I was throwing my short story today. Um, we're talking about processes and controllables, and so never, you talk about compromise. Don't look left or right, you know, because for several years now I've taken my backpack everywhere I go. Everywhere. My wife picks on me, my kids pick on me, Dora the Explorer with the backpack, you know. So, so today, man, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it myself. My backpack stay in the car. I get all my little keys, wallet, whatever, and I go in. And I get back to my car and I'm like, oh my God, my keys. Where are my keys? And so, man, anyway, long story short, 45 minutes later, my wife shows up to help. I go into Walmart and the scooters have been moved around and there's my keys. The moral of that story is I never should have listened to my wife and kids about the jokes. You
Mhm.
know, I made an adjustment based off of comedy and humor. And look, it cost me 45 minutes. That's why our episode was a little behind time, you know. But man, I was so it just nailed home because I thought about what you had put out a few days ago. Timing, your thing, it's about you, the maturity. So long story short, man, Tim, as always, man, I love having you on. I love, take moving it to do a more consistent show when the time arises. You got great knowledge, and I've already told you I love what you do with the training aspect, and got the chance to see some of not finished products, but a shout out Mason, Logan, McBride, uh, Jaden Jones, Tim, himself, and it was nice, man, because everyone excelled on their team, through the what I watched during live. But anyway, man, without further ado, thanks everyone for joining in. Thanks Tan TV for helping supply the platform. Almost lost it there. And we have a local feel and a global reach. Thanks everyone for joining in.
Yeah, appreciate you having me.
All right, brother.